So today we're going to be talking about correlation coefficients. This is also called the R value. So I have three important bullet points up here to remember about the correlation coefficient. The first two is that a positive R means that we have a positive correlation. A negative R means we have a negative correlation. So this is just looking at the sign of the number. Ignore the actual number itself. Just look at if it's positive or negative. This will tell you what kind of correlation it is. The last bullet point says that an R value close to 1 or -1 means that it is a better correlation. So let's take a look at what that means. So the first thing, a positive R value means a positive correlation. So I have three examples here. All of these numbers are positive. We have 0.5, 1, and 0.98. So all of these, as you can see, these are positive correlations. Why? Because they are positive numbers. So the very first thing to do is always just look if it's positive or negative, write that down. The second thing to do is to actually look at the numbers. So let's talk about what we mean by the closer to 1, the better the correlation. 0.5, anything around 0.5 is a pretty weak correlation. They might use the words weak or moderate to explain this, but if you see anything around 0.5, it's called weak. If you see R equals 1, then this is a perfect correlation. This is a special type of correlation. We would call anything that equals 1 a perfect correlation. Anything that has a high R value, like 0.98, is very close to 1, but it's not exactly 1. So anything that's close, like 0.9 or 0.8, anything in that range would be considered a strong correlation. So 0.98 is an example of a strong positive correlation. Okay, so remember we did two things here. First we looked at the positive or negative. All of these are positive. And then the second thing we did was analyze the numbers. Okay, you can categorize them into three things, either weak, perfect, or strong. We're going to do the same thing for the negative numbers now. So you can see here all of these R values have a negative sign. We have negative 0.5, -1, negative 0.98. The only difference here is that we have a negative sign in front. That means that these are negative correlations. The negative sign does not affect how strong or weak it is. So negative 0.98 is just as strong as positive 0.98. The only difference is that one is going to be a positive correlation, the other is a negative correlation. Okay, so think of the positive negative signs as separate from the actual number and what the number tells you about the correlation. So let's take a look at some pictures here that show us more about what we mean. So focusing on the top row here, these are all positive correlation examples. As you can see, positive correlations go up. That's what makes them positive correlations. So the first one would be an example of our perfect correlation. So this would be perfect positive correlation. The next one you can see here is 0.9. So our R value, 0.9, means that it's a strong correlation. So these dots are still really close together. And the last one, 0.5, is a weak correlation because the dots are pretty spread out apart. You can still tell that they're going upwards. However, they're really spread apart. So this wouldn't be a very strong correlation. It would be weak. We can see the same exact thing for these bottom graphs right here. If you compare negative 0.5 to the positive 0.5, you can see that the dots are equally spread apart, meaning that they are in equal strength, right? They're both weak correlations. The difference is just the direction that they're going. All of the negative graphs are just going downwards. So the negative sign just tells us the direction that the dots are going. The actual number, 0.5, 0.9, tells us how close the dots are together, how strong our correlation is.